Hello, my name is William, and I am doing a final jury review for a project that I was working on with Team Panic Button called Project Redline. This video clip will consist of everything that I worked on the last month in Jira and consolidating all the information for the final sprint review document. If I jump over to Jira, part of my stuff that I worked on was updating the floor in the loading bay, which will be seen when I go to the loading bay. I'm going to be going through the editor mode because it's easier to just go through and see stuff when I go through editor mode. So the floor here, I had to change the scope and the scale of it to make it look better and add it onto the floor. Additionally, I had to make sure that I had collision underneath so the player wouldn't fall through and get into this area down here, which hides a lot of the stuff that the gamer won't see, but as a programmer you can see it, or as an editor of the stage you would see it. Additionally, I added a secondary gate mechanism. So when I had someone play through the game, they actually got through this gate. And once you hit through this gate, there's a blocker that pops up that will stop you from going back into this area. If for some reason you go through and you don't use the save station here, you will actually respawn at the last place you saved, which usually people save before they fight the boss. The blocker will be here, but because I have a blocker reset spear here, it actually resets the blocker, and then it will be triggered again once you walk inside of the loading bay again. Additionally, the same playtester noticed that with this task here that I assigned myself, if you use some jumping off of the mountain area, you can actually jump and bypass part of the stage and go out of bounds. So to solve that problem, I actually increased the wall size on this side here and this wall here to prevent players from being able to jump over it. And if you jump over it, you actually would have gone out of bounds and go into this section here, which the player shouldn't be at anyway. Additionally, I made the environmental enemies weaker. Environmental enemies can be found in the beginning of the stage. That is these set of enemies here. The red ones do fire damage, blue ones do frost damage, yellow ones do shock damage, and the green ones actually heal the player. Now all the environmental enemies do 10 points of damage, and the green healing robots actually give the player 25 points of health. That goes hand in hand with another task of balancing the game and making it a little bit more fair, which is actually this task here. As the player, I want gameplay to be balanced. Going back to this task here, which I mentioned earlier, the respawn, it ties into the secondary open gate mechanism, which is actually two spots on the level where a player can be trapped if they didn't have a reset system in place. So I showed the other spot, and then there is a spot here after they open this gate here. There is a reset on the wall here because there is a trigger here that will pop up and block this section off, again preventing players from backtracking. If for some reason you choose not to use the save station and you die, you will respawn back at the beginning of the stage, and this gate will be open still, but there will be a blocker here. Touching this reset will remove that blocker, and once you hit this trigger, that blocker will pop back up. I modified the, I updated the building materials and updated the mesh for the walkways. I tried to make most of the surfaces look solid and not on a block mesh. And I changed the walkways that's located throughout the stage into this wooden plank pattern. As you can see throughout the stage, I just used the wooden plank to kind of make it look like a boardwalk. And again, I changed the surfaces on a lot of the buildings from the checkered block mesh to a different material. I already spoke on the loading bay wall. I'll briefly talk about the save locations, and I believe that wraps up the things that I worked on this month for this project. Save locations are located at the beginning of the game. the beginning of the level, there's a save spot here. The next save spot is actually right here in the market before you actually go to the next section here. The next save spot will be beyond here, going into this boss fight. Here's your boss here. The next save spot is actually located as soon as you go inside of the loading bay, which is highly recommended that players use the save spot because these wires cause damage and can quickly kill the player. So there's a save spot here. So once the player gets both keys, there's a red key on this side where the flames are, and there is a blue key on this side where the ice is. Once you go through both of these gates, there's actually a shield station and the final save station here, which allows the player to save the game. I feel as if where I place the save spots actually makes the player feel like they're making steady forward progression. Where I blocked the players from backtracking gates I used, I incorporated some unique resets to make sure that if you do go past a section and you do enter an area without saving, that you have a chance to reset the blockers, and then the blockers will be reactivated again once you go through. Overall, you see that there was 11 tasks that I worked on throughout the month, and I feel that I've accomplished a lot, and the team has accomplished a lot in the creation of this game. Thank you, and that is my final Jura sprint review for Project Redline, a game that was created by Team Panic Button. Thank you.